Hello again, book lovers. They Made History is the book edited by Claude Golding, it says here, that I picked up from a charity bookshop because it's got the word history in it and it was cheap. And it's a good time to reflect on what reading is about, actually. I kind of feared that the bookshop browse was on its way out, but apparently even independent bookshops are flourishing at the moment in Great Britain. Hurrah! And this is a reminder of those days when you pick up a dog-eared, stained edition of something that you've no idea what it is. £3 it cost me, I've just seen. Don't know who Claude Golding is. And then it says, published by Siena 1998. That's the only information. But as I read it, I thought, this is not a 1990s book. It sounds more like 1930s. And after some investigation, I conclude it was written in 1942 or just before. So it's a nice little window into the past. Let's remember Borges' marvellous comparison of Heraclitus saying, when Heraclitus says you can't step in the same river twice, Borges says, well, you can't read the same book twice either. Meaning, I take it to mean, reading this book 50 years ago would have been a very different experience, or even yesterday if we want to be picky. By the way, my overall view of this was quite entertaining. It's a real hodgepodge that jumps from here to there to everywhere without leaving Europe, it has to be said, except where the Anglosphere edges its way out into the world. It's a collection of short, very short biographies, could be 3 to 5 pages long. Some of them read a little bit like encyclopedia entries, but some of them are very entertaining, with nice little rollicking true stories and peculiar little corners of history. You can see the sort of colonial nature of it by the choice of people who are featured in it. You might think, well, typically not many women. I haven't done the percentage count, but there are quite a few women. Some saints, some poets, some educators. The guy seems to have a fetish for royalty and titles and military exploits, so it's kind of biased towards that. But one of the features of this book is you just don't know what's coming next. So, let's see, we've gone from, oh, here's one, Australia Day, talking of our colonies. Go straight on to Thomas Paine, and we're in the realms of revolution and left-wingism. And then you hop to Hannah More. Who's that? I don't know. Well, I didn't. I do now. There are a lot of stories about the theatre in, I don't know, Regency time, I imagine, and famous London ruffians of Georgian, Edwardian, Victorian eras. A lot of these would have been common currency, I imagine, to the 1940s reader. What have you got? Thomas Hearne, Reverend Alexander Forsyth. Yes, a lot of religious people in here. The magnetic telegraph is patented. Harriet Beecher Stowe. Yeah, so a lot of it's quite interesting. Harrow School, the battles of Quatre Bras and Ligny. You have no idea what's popping up next. So I would take this out on a bike ride with me and just sit down in the country and see what came up. There's 500 pages of it. When I got to the Australia Day, well, a tenth of the way in, I'd figured out this was quite archaic. So I pretended to be a, what do they call them, sensitivity reader for the modern age. Though I don't know where you're going to find this book. Talking about the people that were shipped off to Australia from England. They belong to a sickly and unhealthy class. You probably wouldn't find that written today. And there's a lot of unstated colonialist thinking, like, you know, here we are, we've conquered this land, now it's right. But then, as I say, next one up after that was Thomas Paine, and well spoken of as well. Not so much Dick Turpin, whose legend is busted. And I do have a magpie mind suited to this. I don't go very deep into anything, so it's nice to flit around some random history. Just over halfway we get the end of the pillory. There's lots of legal stuff in here as well. Some interesting tales of people who were pilloried. Daniel Defoe was pilloried, I learned here, but people threw flowers at him while passing around his hymn to the pillory. Anyway, there you go. Example of a little nugget. I'll just toss a paragraph from page 377 at you, see what you think. George Miller, the man with 30 wives, yeah. Clever guy, managed to defraud and clean out 30 wives in 30 weeks. In any case, his ill fortune caught up with him and he was put in the pillory, and there were the 30 wives ready to chuck stuff at him. Here's the paragraph I'd like you to digest. Women are not good throwers. In this case it was hardly necessary, for armed with whatever they could find in the street, they walked close up to George and plastered his face. Again, women are not good throwers. May or may not be true, but I doubt you'd see that these days. Straight after the pillories you get Lady Hester Stanhope, but you also get Edmund Burke and Karl Marx and Schumann and Victor Hugo, St Radegundis, Queen of France, and all topped off with What Happened to the Princes in the Tower. I won't give a spoiler to that one. Anyway, this is more about the pleasure of reading than the actual book, as you'll probably not be able to find a copy. As I'm supposed to be critiquing the books, I'll paraphrase what Samuel Johnson apparently said on seeing the Giant's Causeway in Ireland. This is a book that's worth reading, but not worth going out of your way to read.